I think this is a really, really cool thing. You and I ran across this when we were doing the new product roundup. We looked at these new RCInPower motors. Hang on a second. Wait, no, don't. I've already ruined it. I kind of want to show this to the news and see if people can figure out what the F is going on here. So at first I thought this is an M3 motor shaft like Kebab is using. And you said it doesn't look like M3 to me.
Yeah, definitely. And then, we kind of looked into it a little more. And this motor, and then another motor we were looking at, the new GTS V3. Apparently, this is an M2 shaft, and then
Right.
it's got these little nubbins for poking your T-mount into the little nubs to hold your T-mount, and then you can screw a nut onto the top.
Right. So this is a mount they call it the M2 mount, and RCInPower has a bunch of motors they've put out with this mount. It's a way to mount T-mount props without having to do two separate M2 screws. Instead, you just set it on these little nubs and then just put an M2 nylock nut on top. That's so clever. So clever.
Yeah. So I will say, I think the one issue you're going to find is finding props that have the 2 millimeter in the center without drilling them out. So I did some research trying to look into props that fit on these, and unfortunately, most of the T mounts are 1.5 millimeter instead of 2s.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
There are some 2s, and there are drill kits for 2s. But yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, I guess that's still important. With the T-mount props, I guess the center shaft still helps stabilize the prop and hold it in place. If you were to over drill it so it wasn't making contact with the shaft, that doesn't seem ideal.
I think the big thing to me, though, is the nut coming down. I feel like that's a big deal here, because it's like taking the whole T-mount assembly that would normally be, seemingly pretty bendable on each of those points, and then securing them down, so that hopefully you kind of secure that plastic to the top of the motor, and you can't flex and then break through the T-mount as easy, at least.
Yeah, my big question about this, like when I think about an like a 5 millimeter nylock nut, it's big, it's got a lot of surface area to make contact with the prop. And when you think about a T-mount, we've got those two M2s going into the hole, and there's two of them, and they kind of snug down. When I think about a little M2 nut coming down on top of the prop, that is not a lot of engagement. And I'm just not sure how durable it's going to be in terms of the prop staying on. Let's see. Mouse FPV in the chat says Bob rejected this design because, he's paraphrasing, it's ass. Bob went with an M3 prop, a shaft, which is a little bigger and has an M3 nut, which we're all very familiar with. Yeah. So very interesting, very clever. M2 T-mount props drive me crazy. I really dislike them, but for the weight, I guess. But I guess if it's hard to find props for this, then you're kind of out of luck.
Yep, for sure.
Because I'm sure as hell not drilling out all my props. That's not happening.